Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the WGL EU Season 1 Finals. We have 3 games coming up for you today, starting off with the 2 semi-finals and then a grand final to follow. I am Lauren Pansy-Scott, your host for this evening, and, well, throughout the day, I can imagine. And I'm joined by a little bit of a different gang this time. No Ollie and Mitch sat with me, but don't worry, Melly is still there. You've still got a familiar face. This time it's with still Mojo and Daki as our analysis. And, well, we're going to be talking through the games today, and I can imagine you guys are pretty excited for it. Mojo, how are you feeling?
Great. Where else would I be?
Exactly. We bring him out just for these events. The other time, stuck in his bedroom playing World of Tanks, right?
I'm pale.
The tan gives it away. Daki, how are you feeling?
I mean, I get to sit between 3 beautiful people, and they release me from my cage once in a while, so that's always kind of nice.
It's quite kind of them, if I'm honest, more than anything, to actually let you out. And Melly, of course, the one and only. How are you feeling about today's games?
I'm so excited. I could barely sleep. I was so looking forward to this event, actually. And I mean, with Penta making it, but that's something we're going to talk about later.
I think
so
that
I'm
is
super excited.
It's one of the biggest stories, and I know you're a bit of a Penta fan, so I'm sure you had a little bit of a grin on your face when they did make it through, but that's something we can start talking about a little after that first introduction. Of course, if you guys missed it, there was a regular season going through the entire last couple of months, keeping these teams playing day in, day out, and we have a special video lined up just to remind you of that.
They're getting it done. They're doing all the work that needs to be done. And you can see that Shukyu has absconded in his T54 lightweight. He won't be getting involved in this fight now, as we do see Mucker just about to drop. And of course, with Utopia defending with 14 seconds left, this is a clever move right now. Virtus Pro have to either cap or kill him. They can do neither of these things, and Utopia might have just snuck a win. 114, 1210 taken right off him now. Very, very rough times for the Polish player now as he tries to back away with only a little bit of health, and Just Cause will get the finish on him. That's exactly how you play an overmatch right now. Virtus Pro look to want to make the 3rd round here. 3-3 will be a great result for them now. There's Mucker and Bishu. They're getting disintegrated now. Bishu goes down. Mucker now is only a 2-shot, and Breakneck gets a good roll to finish him off. Shots, a lot of shots coming to those tanks, man. Seriously, these IS-3s and the autoloaders making things hard for the Mercies. They try and push around. Fussy Eater, though, is now off his reload. He can start making those shots over towards Mr. Akari. He will pick him up there. It's a 4v4 situation. This one could be close here. It is about 500 health points in favor of No Mercy. Nevy's a 1-shot. Lucky Blast has no shots left.
One of these 2 will get a high roll.
Super low roll.
One of them will get like a normal roll, so he's just going to try anyway.
He comes forward, 1-shot missing, does get a shot in towards, no, he doesn't connect with Yamto, but he can still get Nevy. The reload time is going to be with him right now. He's got 3 shells left. He can do this if Matt Peel misses his shot. Hulknick, he might be able to do this. Matt does miss the shot now. Nevy comes forward, but it's going to bounce. That is devastating for Hulknick. He has to use his last shot to get the finish, and there's no time left. He could have had it, but he bounced at close range against that IS-3. You've got to be kidding me. He's going to have 3 tanks looking straight at him. That's that little localized overmatch that Ding were looking for, and they get it. They are up by the tank now, and they are having a bit of a health advantage as well. Jamto and Lucky Blast are forced to turn towards Kenny Boy, but Meritorious is always there.
Yeah, Fussy Eater just find Haltnik, which brings it all even to a 4-on-4 situation. And you can see that if
Rafik can also contribute in this kind of fight, especially with Diplomat not able to really contribute, but oh my god, Stoic there, he's going to take down Lucky Blast and Fussy Eater backs up. He's going to just back away. He knows he's got the time here. Ding have to finish this one off convincingly, but Diplomat does go down. He's not able to get the finish or the shot at all as he pushes over those train lines now. And Stoic, yeah, brilliant. He's got 933 points of health, but he has to take down 2 tanks, and Rafik has long since gotten the heck out of dodge. Stoic misses the shot as he pushes it around. Fussy Eater is holding on tight now as the ram is going to be coming out here. It's a good reload for the RU-251. He's going to bounce that one straight off Stoic, but Stoic as well will not be able to connect his shot. This is just more stalling. This is perfect right now for Ding, and Fussy Eater might actually be able to get there on top of Stoic here. Stoic knows that all is lost right now. He's not even going to bother, as No Mercy have done it. They've 5-0 Ding. They've sent him packing here. What an impressive performance. Let's get his reload. His shot just misses him now. Getting those tanks out of the game for Synergy at this point will be crucial right now. And Supreme are already thinking, what's a contingency? What happens if we run out of tanks? But right now, that doesn't seem to be a factor as they have more. And Lilith does go low. Mihailov just drops down now, and things are starting to turn against Synergy. Total Best and Applewell going head-to-head on the hill. Oh, Total Best missed such a crucial shot towards Applewell. He still gets him, but he could have used that other shot now towards Griffin or someone else. They have to stop run right now. They have only 5 seconds left. They must connect these shots. shots, but they're being put straight towards the crucible there. Ninan gets completely blown up. Time is run out. Ready to poo. Oh. Yes, I think he got it. He got the reset at the last second. That's all he had to do. But Ron is still alive, and the Synergy have lost so much for that push. Dell with 2 shots towards him now. He might be able to turn this around. He gets a shot towards Winnie the Pooh. He takes him out. Nadine still not quite on reload, but Ron manages to finish him off now. It's a 3v2 situation. 30 seconds left. 30 seconds for Team Supreme to take down Mihailov and Ilya. You can see Griffin's going hunting. Ilya should know by now that he has to get the heck out of dodge. But if he turns around, if he exposes his rear to Phoenix, it could be fatal. He has to stand and fight. Phoenix will have the reload first. He can get the finish. Supreme, they can turn this around.
They could actually win this one if Phoenix gets his next shot. He does, but Mihailov is the next problem. 14 seconds left on the clock.
Mihailov back in towards the corner. Ron, the captain Ron, comes in for the finish of Team Supreme. Turn around what was going to be a losing game. It looked like at the start there, especially towards the finish. Supreme, brain fart, coming out here from Synergy. My God, 5-1.
11 rounds later, 66 games played. These 12 teams were certainly put through their paces, and we saw eventually the season come to a bit of an end. But we have yet to see, of course, the final result. But throughout the online season, we saw some forerunners. We saw some people certainly shining above the rest. But what stood out to you about this season?
Well, it's absolute dominance of new teams that were formed. It's Supreme and Rox. And the biggest fails in the season, I would say, my team own, Team Lusa. I can call it like that now.
And still Yo-Yo.
Kazna, which we'll talk about later.
Exactly. Daki, there's a lot to be said about this season, and I think we can save it for a little later on. But how do you feel it went this time? There was a lot of new teams coming in, a lot of new mixtures. You obviously bowed out, went to the easier side of things, the NA side of things. How did it go for you from maybe an external perspective?
Well, I saw a struggling V-Pro in the beginning of the season. I saw a Rox that was finding form and only found their form after removing their captain back then, Streko.
Strange.
Yeah, they removed Streko, who died always within 30 seconds of the game starting. And other than that, we saw the top 3, which we could expect. Supreme just dominating everybody. Player skill, team skill, tactics. They brought everything. They set standards on maps, and teams were just copying them. And they rolled out the entire season, and they managed to make it here as first.
They certainly did. But of course, it wasn't just about the regular season. Then it went into a playoff bracket. So they had to even fight again, a couple of these teams. Team Supreme was flawless throughout the online season. So they pretty much got qualified. They were pretty much safe. But outside of that, you have to look at that playoff bracket because something incredible happened. And I can imagine that's going to give you a little smile looking at this one. And maybe if there's any Kazna fans, a slight tear. Mojo, let's start with you on this.
Let's start with tears.
Yeah, let's hold back the tears for now before the tissue boxes arrive. But what happened to Kazna here?
Maybe it was a thing because they won European finals, then they went to grand finals, had a hard loss there that could be only be given to their play. And I think they just wanted too much and maybe were not stable enough as people, not as players. They have the skill. They outclass Penta, they outclassed them in previous matches, they didn't show it. And Clicker Pit.
Clicker Pit, just Clicker Pit, clicking things one by one.
There were some outstanding moments, let's just say, that allowed Penta the opportunity. And for them, they're going to come into this event surely without that much pressure now.
They're a team that's playing against Supreme. They have nothing to lose. I mean, they know they cannot play, like they told me themselves, they cannot play the head-to-head game with Supreme. So they're going to try and change the meta, per se, and just to throw some stuff in there. And it's going to be fun to watch, hopefully.
I'm sure we can have a little glimpse of that later down the line, of course. They'll be playing that first game up against Supreme, so a very tough challenger to start off with. And speaking about Supreme, these guys have been formidable. You thought Virtus Pro looked good in the last seasons. When they went flawless, Supreme just went and just knocked it out the park. Those guys were untouched throughout the entire regular season. And, well, I think it's rather boring hear it from me. Let's hear it from the team themselves.
When we learned that we qualified to the LAN finals, it was a great feeling for us. We were really happy and we felt that we deserved it because it was a great season for us. The ESL studios here are great because you can feel the energy of esports. Like so many professional teams were here before and will be after us, and we feel the connection with them.
We're training 2 weeks to two training practice in one day with Euro and Russian teams, and we prepared for this tournament.
I think our best moment in the season was beating Virtus Pro and knowing that we are top 1 team in the online phase, and it was a great feeling, of course. And of course, because we managed to beat such a professional team as Virtus Pro. We expect these offline finals to be one of the greatest in the history of World of Tanks esports, and we will try to perform and to create the show.
A truly all-star team there. There's not much more to be said, but Mojo, your thoughts on this team? Because they came together fairly, I guess, new in a way. They forged together this lineup and they've truly turned heads.
I would say they forged this alliance on Grand Final when GGVP joined School Bus, and only difference here would be Ron instead of Arclit. And we have one sudden change because one of the players couldn't come, Griffon, so the replacement player Zarazni had to step in. We know him from Clan War scenes, so he's an old player, but he's not proven on these grounds. They had time to train with him, but will it be enough? We will see.
It's a big question, of course. You know, previously Denova, GGWR played. You've got some School Bus in there. It really is quite the mix.
Star lineup.
Yeah, there's not much more to be said. Flawless record, Apple Wow on your screen, as you can see. A young superstar that's certainly done well.
Well, we can say one more thing. Of all the matches, they had 2 tiebreaker wins, and one was against Virtus for only 400 HP.
Oh, so such close.
We'll see quite a lot here.
Yeah, there's so much to be proved during this event. But of course, they need an opponent, and none other than the Cinderella story itself. Penta, the team that I guess throughout the season, none of us really thought they'd come this far. You'd think they did well. They had some surprising results, but then during that playoff bracket, they just stepped the hell up. So I think we need to hear from that team as well. Guys, take it away.
I guess winning against Kasna in the qualifiers, in the playoffs, was probably the best moment of the season, and I guess we are very proud of winning this. We see ourselves as the underdogs in the match against Team Supreme, but they're probably going to be really close games and strong teams here with Team Supreme, Virtus Pro and Tornado Rocks, and we actually hope to achieve some good games and some wins against them. I'm missing the Kasna guys because the Kasna guys were on all offlines where we were also, so we are really close to each other, we are friends, and I'm really missing Metzo, Hyber and all these guys.
Well, I think that our greatest moment in the season was the match on Himmelsorf against Virtus Pro when we played a cheesy tactic with double ball 6 and that was really great.
I think playing in front of a crowd is a new experience for most of the members in our team because it makes you nervous and you get all shaky and stuff. But if you manage to concentrate and focus on your game, I think you can live with it, play with it. No matter what actually happens, we're gonna give you a great show and it will be really good.
An underdog, if I've ever seen one. Penta's come into this, beating out, I guess, the fan favourite in a way. So I can imagine there's going to be some salty dogs out there in chat for the Kasna fans. But Daki, you know these guys pretty well by now. Coming into this, what do you feel their best chances are? Because I guess you can say they have no pressure on their shoulders. They don't have to live up to some huge expectations, but I'm sure you've got some insight.
Well, my team's been training against them for the last 2 weeks, so we pretty much know their entire strategy book and what they're going to do. And even them said it, like head-to-head, they don't think they have any chance against Supreme, which I won't say is wrong. So they're going to try and do things that Supreme doesn't expect, maybe try and tilt them, because as the way they see it, the only way they're going to beat Supreme is if they actually manage to get them on tilt, get them wondering about their tactics, what they want to do, that kind of stuff. It's the only way they see a possibility even. They know themselves the odds aren't great, but they're going to try their best and bring some hopefully really interesting stuff on one of these two maps.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? When you come into this and you're not necessarily a team that people will look at to anti-strat, they get the freedom to do as they please. They can go, well, we know how Team Supreme play. We know what they're like, because everyone can look at these guys because they are, so renowned for the way they play. They can maybe come up with some good ideas here. I'm very excited to see what they can bring. But coming into this, before we, almost get the game started, we are moments away, guys at home. Do not fear. We'll be off your screens very soon. You can get to the tanks. But I want to have a quick prediction from you guys into the first game. So Supreme up against Penta. Mojo, scoreline, thoughts? What are you going to go for here? Who's got this?
Penta is really good at defending on Ruinberg, and Supreme has a really actually bad record on it, so I will go with them a bit.
Okay, so you've got a little bit of faith there. So you're going for a little bit of silver lining hope. Daki.
I mean, I guess I'm a little biased. I'm going to say, to go against the odds, I'm going to say Penta takes it 5-4.
Wow. Okay, so you're actually calling them...
If their strategies they have prepared work out, if this works out for them, with what I've seen, then I think if this works out and they actually get Supreme on tilt, get it onto, get an attacking round on a map that they don't expect, they don't get a defending round where you don't expect it, then I'm actually going to go with Penta. Because Supreme, everybody knows Supreme trains against Hellraisers.
Yep.
And Hellraisers is not a team that's going to do a lot of cheesy stuff, YOLO stuff. They are the kind of team that goes control play, this, and this. And then you have Penta, which they can't expect, they can't train for it, they can't prepare for it. And 100% Supreme has been looking at them, but they're like, I don't know what these guys are going to do. And then they just go, okay, let's look at Virtus Pro and Rocks, and they have massive amounts of footage to actually look at.
So the games will be decided on Lakeville. We'll all know that. Ruinberg can go either side, and Penta has a slight advantage there. But on Lakeville, they barely played it entire season. And I think that's the Joker Supreme counts on, actually.
Wow.
So whatever happens here, that will be.
I can imagine they've got a couple of cards up their sleeves there, and I wonder if one of them is going to be that Joker. We're going to find out, but of course that's the expert's opinion. You guys at home are welcome to your own, and I believe there's actually some goodies on the line, and who else to bring it to you? The Melly. Melly, you are the goodie giveawayer. You're like the Santa Claus to World of Tanks. How are you doing today?
I never come with empty hands. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really excited for our first match because I had the chance to talk to Penta before the team videos, before we shot the team videos, and they said we prepared some really, really funny and good tactics.
Don't get me excited. I'm already so excited
I think it's going to be really, really good. So, and the community, I must admit, I would have thought that the vote would have gone a bit different because it's 37% for Penta.
That's quite strong, to be fair.
Yes.
Considering Supreme have the flawless record throughout the season, that's actually quite supportive.
So this is also very promising. People at home, if you want to get involved, head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WGLU, as you see just here, and get involved. There's a lot of stuff on the line, as Lauren already teased you guys, and 10 bonus codes and Logitech gaming gears. We're giving away one bundle with a gaming mouse and a mouse pad. So people get involved, head over to our Facebook page and, well, get your votes in. And actually, the ones that predict for Supreme predict a very clear win for Supreme, but the ones rooting for Penta are also going with a very close ending. So we might see 3 maps today. Well, we will eventually at some point. In this match. And of course, you can get involved via Twitter as well. Use the hashtag WGLEU over at Twitter and get your opinions through to us. And also fan art and all these. I don't have to tell you that. You guys are great with Photoshop. We know that. And of course, don't forget our amazing Logitech raffle. ESL.gg/Logitech raffle, as you just see. People get involved, register, sign up, and get your chance of 3 Type 59s, 3 WGL AMX, 700 times 1,000 gold, and a whole lot of bunch Logitech gaming gear. So if that's not worth getting involved, I can't help you.
I think Melly's pretty much, excuse me, laid out the goods. There's no two ways about it. You guys at home have to get involved now. It's simple as that. There's so much to be won, and just for your thoughts alone. But let's get back to the topic here. Penta against Supreme. You have the giants. You could maybe call them, David and Goliath. If I'm going to be that cheesy, I'm going to try and avoid that. I'm sure Mitch will pick that one up. But this is going to be an outstanding game. This is going to be one that's going to be remembered. Penta have nothing to lose. No pressure, no stress. And Supreme, have the biggest reputation we've seen since Virtus Pro to defend. So guys, it's not going to be us taking it away. It's going to be one, the only, Mitch and Ollie.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and the rest of the desk. I'm here with Oliver Maxfield, of course. I am Mitch Leslie. It's kind of nice to be referred to as a unit. Pretty much, we have been thick as thieves over the last few months of this season, and it all comes down to this, Oliver. I can feel the excitement in the air. It's going to be a fantastic day of games.
Yeah, I can't wait. We've been waiting for this for 11 match days. So much pressure on for these two teams. Coming up now, and obviously we got Sauna Aerox versus Virtus Pro later on. But yeah, this first game, I think Analysis Dead said it perfectly. Penta has nothing to lose. Team Supreme has a lot of pressure on because, you know, in previous kind of results, they haven't performed in these offline kind of situations. So, yeah, I think these games are going to give us a bit of everything.
Of course, and you guys have heard it already. It's going to be Penta Sports going up against Team Supreme in this first match. And of course, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with the format that we run here at the WGL EU, it is the 754 format. 7 tanks per side and a maximum of 54 tier points to work with. And of course, Killer Pit, who was the star, of course, of Penta's way through into these finals in the pre-playoff bracket. He was huge on artillery, putting to shame, it's safe to say, Eurofish, who was his opponent in that match against Kazna. That was massive. And the entirety here of Penta are definitely ready to go. They got their Henleys on, a bit more of a summer feel here as we're heading into sort of the colder months, but that's fair enough. It is a nice day here in Cologne, decent weather. And of course, a new multi-show on the right of your screen there. Polish superstar really coming into his own this season. Yeah, I think he's had a bit of a rocky road, especially at the beginning. He struggled to get those consistent results, you know, kind of playing like he did in, you know, the old Evil Pana Squad days, you know, separated from the team, outside, doing his own kind of thing. But I think as the season's gone through, the team has really said, okay, Multi, you need to, you know, get your game face on. You need to play as a unit. Otherwise, you simply won't get the results in. And I think, yeah, he's the highest damage dealer for Penta Sports by quite some margin. Almost every game hitting 2.5, 3K damage. But I think it's going to be a really crucial part of Penta's play, because if they are going to throw these unusual tactics out, they aren't going to win by player skill. Everyone knows Team Supreme have the player skill thing absolutely locked down. So Penta needs to win just in a crushing blow at a certain point in the map. So I think that's really important for Multi as a whole team. They just need to gel. Of course, Team Supreme on your screen right now, and obviously led by Ron, who's been around for just so long. Of course, initially of Denova, then of GGWP. You know, he's always been able to draw these big players to him. And, you know, for a guy that's been around for so long as well, he likes to lead from the front in those lighter tanks on the battlefield. Of course, on your screen, Applewell. And next to him, of course, is Zarazini, coming in as a bit of a sub here. There's Ron, the man on the screen right now. He is the mastermind. He is the caller. This game, I mean, it's easy to set the tone, to set a storyline here. This is the David and Goliath matchup. Penta coming in as 6th seed at these, as 4th seed, should I say. Yeah. But 6th place on the ladder. They snuck their way through in those playoffs against Kazna Crew, and they had to take down the top team to get through. Yeah, I think Penta Sports are my EL Gaming for this finals. EL Gaming, no one expected to actually turn up, but they did, and they managed to get 2nd place. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's time to jump into our first map of this grand finals. It is none other than Ruinberg.
Ruinberg, a mixed type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the central square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
Of course, now we're going to be having just a restart here as players do work out some of those jitters, of course, coming into this one, which is fine. Of course, technical stuff has to be locked down before we jump into these games here. But I mean, as I said, just before we sort of cut through, it's very much a David and Goliath matchup. But one other thing I wanted to highlight to you as well, Oliver, is that online tournaments have been a little bit precarious for GGWP, for School Bus, and now of Supreme, for these two teams being put together. The monkey is on their back. Let's think back to Season 5 finals in Sofia. Yeah. You know, GGWP came into that second day fresh. They didn't get to play on the day previously because they automatically qualified, and it almost worked against them in that one. I guess they maybe didn't have the time to warm up, and they sort of choked. It was that they didn't win. They weren't even in the grand final when so many people thought they would be. and of course the grand finals. Let's not forget that as well. They also struggled there in that offline setting.
Yeah, I think GG well played. I mean, let's be honest, that's the majority of the Team Supreme lineup. Yeah, you got Shanish and Apoel in there, but I think those offline jitters definitely play a big part. As you mentioned, going to that semi-finals, got absolutely trounced by School Bus, and I think that's going to be a big part of this. Penta Esports, you saw in that graphic, they've played in the last few season finals, and yeah, okay, they've only got 5th and 6th place, but they've been that close, and you know, they were only a couple of points to actually beating Kazna Crew to the grand finals. They could have been representing Europe instead of Kazna, so they are a very good team, and I think they do have more experience. The one thing I'd say Penta has going against them, it's a lot of new players in the lineup this season, and for Team Supreme, something we haven't really discussed, Zarazini, right? This new player, Griffin couldn't make it, he had some issues, and he's going to stand in for him. Griffin, amazing player, really on point, been doing some great work, definitely one of my standouts for Team Supreme, and that's saying something. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he actually melds into the lineup, how he plays, because he hasn't played a single official match this season.
That's correct. He's always been kept in reserve as that player, but the entire lineup of Supreme has always been there for those games. He hasn't had a chance to play with him, but as they said, of course, in their little clip beforehand, they have been practicing 2 training blocks a day, and that's long. That's a long time. Yep. So they have been putting in the work. I mean, this is what you have to do. Ron, obviously quietly confident, and so was Phoenix there as well. He said, we have practiced, we have prepared. You know, it's a question we always throw out to these teams before these events, and we honestly do get the same answer, but we expect no less from a team like Supreme. They know that this is only half the battle done. They've finished well during the season, but now it's time to bring the thunder in the offline here, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 1 is underway. Penta Esports in the red will defend, and Team Supreme will try and break through. They're in blue.
Yeah, so this is the first round of today. I think it's going to be an absolute fantastic one. Just keep in mind all those kind of points we've been discussing just beforehand. And let's see who actually comes out on this one. Team Supreme, Penta Esports haven't played this map so far this season, at least in the regular stage. So this is the first time we get to see what happens. Penta's best map. 71% win ratio on that defensive side, by far their best map, in fact. And Team Supreme, they've played it a lot as well, but they've definitely been struggling in previous matchups.
Great chance for Penta just to set their feet, just to dig their heels in and get set up for this one here. You can see Hacky, he's pushed into that back corner as we normally see, but he's about to be greeted by a lot of guns pointed in his direction. See Apoel going to make his way up as well. Shanish is there as well, but Phoenix gets chunked down quite nicely. Hacky will give himself up as a bit of a sacrificial lamb here, but it's been a good amount of damage. FC Dynamo's down to half health. Apoel takes a massive amount of damage, and Penta easily come out on top after the first salvos.
Yeah, great little play by Penta there, just doing great damage to Team Supreme at the beginning, making sure they can lock down Hacky, locks down the second tier 8 tank, and you can see Team Supreme immediately just struggling right off the bat. Those 2 players just getting caught out by Hacky in that WZ131. You know, a tank Penta Esports has been favoring this season quite a lot. So great stuff for them. They just need to hang on. But this is the factor we've been talking about. Even when Team Supreme are behind, they have that player skill to come back. They have that ability to win those one-on-one situations, and that's what really Penta needs to play against.
We saw them turn Himmelsdorf against Synergy so beautifully earlier on in this season, but now this is crunch time. This is where every move could cost you here. Now we can see that Supreme just setting up, spreading out a little bit. You can see the traces there all looking towards Raging Potato, but for the most part he can get hulled down on this little undulation on this side of the road and stay safe. Provide eyes for his team, at least for now, and Penta can set up and try and close this net.
I think they can. I mean, you can see they're kind of wiggling around in that F road, that middle road, just slicing Ruinberg in half. They got the AMX 5100 there, the Bulldog just making sure the middle, predicting perfectly that Team Supreme will be rotating something light around. You can see Ron, he loves that LTTB. So I think that Bulldog is going to be a really important factor. Multi just in the background and the 5100 as well to provide good support. And because Phoenix receives so much damage from those IS-3s at the beginning, he can't engage first. He can't go in. So right now, Penta's in a great spot. They can sit there. They can just, have every angle sorted. And also, they're kind of protecting that northern area because they have got the Bulldog.
Raven is holding down a key position beautifully right now in that M41 Bulldog. 2 shots went out towards Ron and have forced him back in towards the city. That's where he's sitting with Phoenix. And both those tanks are so low right now. Raging Potato is doing a great job. He's holding position. Shots towards Zarazini as well. Gonna take some health off of him. You can see Nuclear as well. And this is where the push comes from Penta. They might have realized it's time to get aggressive and come straight forward. Nuclear is caught up in that building, the dead zone, and Killer Pit coming on towards him now. Zarazini down to a 1 shot. Nuclear isn't far off either. Team Supreme went into this secondary engagement with such a health point deficit, it's going to be so hard for them to bring it back now.
You can see how much Team Supreme are just struggling because they lost those 2 tier 8 tanks at the beginning. They don't have any of those angles to cover to take down the IS3s that are pushing. So this is definitely game over. Multi just chiming in from the back with that 5100 does finish off Zarazini. Phoenix and Shanish left. Obviously Phoenix, the shot caller really for Team Supreme, and back in the days GG Well players will find Raven in that Bulldog, but you know, 5 tanks, big tanks remaining with plenty of hit points left for Penta Esports. They are proving that they're a team to be really scared of in those offensive positions, especially here on Ruinberg.
This is Penta Esports for you, ladies and gentlemen, and they mean business. They're going to take this first round out in stunning style. You did say the defensive side on Ruinberg was favoured for them with a 71% win rate, and they have done nothing to tarnish that so far. The high fives are coming out. You can see they realise that maybe we do belong to be here. We snuck through on Casa, we pulled out some Parmesan on them, but this time we're coming out with some solid strategies. And before the game, Oliver, we heard some rumours that Penta might be bringing some special tactics to this, but defensive side of Ruinberg, they don't really have to right now. They just play solid, and that was beautiful execution.
Yeah, I love the push down from Hacky with the WZ131, and then you saw Raging Potato, the best IS3 player in the league, to be honest, you know, coming back behind that WZ131 and just making sure he keeps Zarazini there in the Zarazini in the IS3 locked down. And you know, he can't go forwards, can't provide any blocking capability for his light tanks just to work in around him. So the great first round there for Penta Esports. This is the start they needed. I think if I was Penta, I would be saying we need to win that first round. Whatever we do, we need to win the first round, because otherwise Team Supreme are going to start tilting us.
That's right. They build up the momentum as well. And Penta can be prone to that sort of thing. But Oliver, break this down for me. This is that initial engagement that put Team Supreme so far behind the 8 ball. Yeah,
so Ron's going in. You can see there's 2 heavy tanks there down south, ready to shoot anything that does get spotted by Ron. Hacky, good hold down tank, the WZ131, just immediately spotting everything that comes out. And, you can see they kind of got a little lost there, Team Supreme. You can see the jitters. They don't have that MT25 to provide the kind of scenery to park behind. So, I mean, I just think that was poor execution from Team Supreme. And, shooting fish in a barrel comes to mind for Penta Esports. But, once they had lost that tank and, Shanish takes another shell here, it was definitely game over. There's no way Team Supreme can come back from actually losing 2 tier 8 tanks and also like a 2,000 or 3,000 hit points deficit.
Did Team Supreme overcommit to that part of the map that we saw on that replay? They put a lot of tanks to try and get rid of Hacky. Could they have done more with less, potentially?
I think what Team Supreme were expecting was Penta Esports to have 2 T54 lightweights down that 0 line, or, like an AMX 3090, which would be unusual, but, something we've seen before. So they were expecting to get an overmatch in that 0 line. And, if they had the 3 tanks against the 2, of course, Team Supreme would have come out as the victor. But they didn't have anything there, and I think a little bit of oversight, some bad decision making from Penta Sport, from Team Supreme. They should have seen what Penta was bringing in terms of their tanks, their lineup, and predicted that that T54 rush probably wasn't going to happen. The Bulldog wasn't going to come up there because that simply wasn't what Penta Sport was actually sporting.
So successfully, Penta Sports obviously gave the wrong impression, I guess, over towards Supreme. But I want your explanation on this as well. They set up a lot of tanks in towards that village on the eastern side of the map to make those shots that Hacky baited out. Does that strategy leave Penta weak to a northern push?
Somewhat, but the thing is, Penta had full heavy tank lineup, right? They had the 4 IS3s, they had a 5100, and they had a Bulldog, I believe, or they had a couple of Bulldogs and the IS3s and 5100. So they had a very heavy lineup, which is, not unusual in Ruinberg. We see the slower kind of lineups coming out just because it's so hard to deal with. The numbers just go firmly against you when you're playing on the attacking side. But I think, it's all about crossfires when you're taking down those heavier tanks. I think the northern push would have been a better idea for Team Supreme, because, they might have been able to get something in the middle like an IS3, and get cross shots right across and towards the northern area. But Penta Sports simply had nothing in the north. They really didn't put that much there. So I think that was a great round, but we are heading into our second one.
So it's not all bad for Team Supreme right now. They've lost a round on the attacking side, which happens to the very best of teams in the WGL EU. But to get one here would be great for Team Supreme to start their engines. Hacky, and Raven HR on your screen. They have been sent north now just to spot out any kind of push that Team Supreme might try and put together. And they may even have overheard what you were saying, Oliver, here, because you can see they're set up here in C1. A large amount of their forces ready to push quickly onto that northern cap. You can see Zarazny, and Nuclear are set up here on that middle road. So they can wrap around and head north if they need to. FC Dynamo heading up on towards that hill. They're not pushing too far, Supreme. They're just taking their time here, making sure they make the correct decision.
Exactly. So FC Dynamo is going to be that kind of, it's going to be that slower, right? He's going to try and glue Penta Esports into to take him out because he's in a great position. Very hard to deal with, kind of a thorn on the side situation. The two IS3s there in the middle are going to go forwards when the engagement from Team Supreme's light tank does go up north, and they're just going to be there to try and shoot the tanks in A7, A8. So they're going to be there to try and provide the crossfire. But the thing is, you know, Team Supreme still has to deal with those, you know, those right side tanks, the tanks in E0, E9, which are going to be really, really annoying because they are sitting very far back. They aren't sitting in aggressive positions, so it's not like the three IS3s sitting in the middle can actually shoot up the F-road and make side shots onto Penta Esports' tanks that are potentially panicking and trying to get the northern reset.
Well, still, Penta are set up, so they haven't committed so much to that village. They can make shots towards the northern cap here, but double 1390 coming out here from Team Supreme. We don't see that too often. It's a lot of front-loaded burst damage here that is available to Team Supreme if they want to make that aggressive push and carve out an initial advantage. But they're backing off. They're heading back in towards the city to try something else.
Yeah, so I think, you know, Team Supreme, they pushed FC Dynamo up a little bit, didn't really find anything, and perhaps predicting we haven't really spotted that much, and so we might have to more go for a normal engage down towards the K0. So I think this is a good decision with Team Supreme. You know, you can see Penta Esports had a very good setup for a northern push with the MX-1390 and the T-37. They would have been able to do great damage to Ron, Shanish, and Phoenix before they even knew what hit them. So at least enough damage for the rest of the team to take care of them. So great prediction from Team Supreme, deciding to counter-rotate, want to play a different game. They are starting to run out of time. 4 minutes left is not a lot of time when you consider how heavy Penta Esports lineup is.
Sometimes in World of Tanks, no information gained is a lot of information, in fact. And you can see now Phoenix is moving up in towards that corner. Has not spotted Hacky or anyone sitting there. So Team Supreme now might be able to move up there, might be able to just take position. But the bulk of Penta Esports is still ready to receive a push on towards that capture point number 2. Ron will give it a tickle. He's making his way over there now in that MT-25 to start things off. And those tanks in the north for Penta can't contribute right now until they relocate. And they will. You can see on your mini-map, the T-37 and the 1390 are making their way in towards the city. And Ron sitting pretty on that capture site, waiting for any sign of life here from Penta Esports, and Nuclear and Zarazny be ready to capitalize.
Yeah, so this is a very normal capping style from Team Supreme here. The interesting thing is that Penta's sending the MX-1390 and the T-37 on the left side, on the western side, heading down, going to go down south, and they might actually find an engagement there onto the MX-1390, which is also there. I believe that's Apwow or Shanish, so that's going to be really interesting. If they do find Apwow, this could be disastrous for him.
Well, might get jumped on here. Hacky and Raven HR with a lot of damage. Hacky, of course, with a sustained burst, but here comes the Dead Zone pushing down that line. He's already taken about 500 damage, but Shanish gets replied onto even more. He goes down as New Multi-Show will pick him up now. The capture is still underway, and Apple has been found. He gets blown up as well, and that's 2 already for Penta in the bag, but will it be enough? Ron on the capture, being reset slightly down to 46 seconds here, as Phoenix now having to deal with the aggression of the lightweight here. The Dead Zone, star player for Penta Esports, will go up in smoke now as FC Dynamo picks him off, and Nuclear and Zarazny, they're pushing into the city. They're going to establish a screen, try and keep Penta busy, but Ron, he's moved off the capture point here, and Team Supreme might have to go for a plan B.
The interesting thing here from Penta Esports is that they managed to get the T-37, the MX-1390 really far down south, but they kept them there. It's not like they went in for the engagement, didn't take down Phoenix. That might actually bite them a little bit later on. But let's see, the resets kind of come in. You can see the side-scraping game from the IS3s also, you know, just occurring now, but I still think it's about those 2 light tanks down south. If Penta Esports screw up that, they could end up tilting and losing this match.
Penta Esports is getting to the point now for Team Supreme where they won't have time to capture this, especially with Penta Esports running rampant, and FC Dynamo takes a big hit coming in from Raging Potato, but Hacky goes down. The little niggling threat, the Hornet of the T-37 is off the map for the moment here, and the health points, well, it's very much in favour of Penta Esports right now. Team Supreme, having lost so many tanks essentially for free, It's now coming back to haunt them. Raven is hunting for Ron. That flexibility the MT25 offers Team Supreme could be off the table in a moment if he is picked up. But Ron is now completely and totally engaged with getting rid of Raven to try and escape from him. He can't do much else on the map. Meanwhile, Penta Esports, bit by bit, they're chunking down Team Supreme.
I think the time's the biggest factor now. Team Supreme probably just don't have time to take down all the tanks from Penta Esports, because you can see the MX-3090s in the middle, like that's going to take 30 seconds to 45 seconds with 2 light tanks to kill. So Team Supreme's only option really is to go for the cap with 3 or 4 tanks, and that really is going to be hard since Raging Potato has a 0 line, so he's got great side shots onto the cap, and Killer Pit 100% HP in the IS-3. He can engage onto Zarazny whenever he wants.
Ron now going to make his way up, just try and be a threat from the rear, maybe looking for new multi-show, or just trying to turn a gun in his direction so Supreme can get an advantage. But they're running out of time. This is a challenging map for attackers to play on, and this game is definitely no exception now. Ron harassing new multi-show, but he gets picked up. The Polish prodigy gets the shot on that 100mm as he turns it in the direction of that light tank. And now Team Supreme, they're running out of tanks, they're running out of health, and time is definitely not on their side either. Nuclear wants a bit of new multi-show, but he says, thanks for coming, I'll take your scalp. And only 3 tanks left for Team Supreme. This looks like Penta will have this one wrapped up.
10 seconds left on the clock, and Penta Esports so far ahead right now, 3,200 damage to 754, and only 2 tanks remaining versus 4 tanks. So a really nice game there from Penta Esports. Clearly now have the win, and indeed they do, putting the 2nd round here on the board, and 2 defensive rounds. That's what you're looking for when you're going into Ruinberg.
New multi-show. Come at me, bro. Is pretty much what he's saying right there. Good vibe amongst the Penta guys, even though they're not sure whether to make a fist or an open palm for the
Everyone does that occasionally.
I've seen it. It's not as bad as some of the fouls we've seen in our time, but you can see smiles here. Raging Potato, of course, looking pretty happy. You can see that the dead zone there, right in the middle, calling the shots there along with Hacky, and they are just keeping momentum and morale at a high right now. Yeah, they're just conferring with the multi-show here after that round.
Yeah, I think everyone did their job. No one messed up at all. I think multi was great in that 5100. And just looking at the damage, you know, Raging Potato, a kind of unsung star there in that 0 line. Almost 2,000 damage done there with the IS-3. He really did a great job. Killer Pit as well. The other IS-3 from Penta Esports doing 1,500 damage. So those two, you know, providing good line of sight, getting the shots when they need to, and yeah, fantastic round. Phoenix did as much as he could there in a T-54 lightweight, staying alive despite the fact that he received so much damage at the beginning, and also took down Hacky, who theoretically should have been able to kill him, but the rest of Team Supreme just not really performing.
This is when they backed up here, of course. Team Supreme went for that plan B. Was this too late in the piece to really change tact here? I mean, they definitely ran out of time, as we saw.
Yeah.
Could it have been done earlier?
Well, I think, you know, Penta was really fast on the exchange, because you can see as soon as these light tanks get spotted, Penta rotates with the T-37, the MX-3090. So they're immediately behind. Team Supreme, if they wanted to win this round, they would have had to get an advantage before those two light tanks took down Applewell. They didn't manage to do that, and Penta with those IS-3s, good cross shots, good damage, and you know, Team Supreme trying to get themselves in the cap now. It just didn't work out. You know, Penta just made the right decisions, and Raging Potato winning those engagements against Zarazny, just fantastic work from him. And it really does look like Penta are on form. They are playing very well. They predicted correctly that Team Supreme might want to go for that northern engagement, and then when they didn't, they bought themselves a lot of time, first of all, and secondly, they just didn't give their positions away. No one peaked unnecessarily.
You can see they're even on the side of Supreme, some furrowed brows, but nothing really to write home about yet. They understand that the attacking side of Ruinberg is one of the hardest positions to play from in World of Tanks as we know it right now. So they're not too worried. They know that they have the chance now to defend and set something up. And this is maybe where the habanero gets thrown into the mix. This is maybe where, you know, Penta might try and mix things up. Teams have tried time and time again to innovate on Ruinberg, to get those attacking rounds and make them clean. We haven't really seen a team be able to do this consistently, but from what I've heard, Penta are ready.
I think so. I mean, this is Penta's map choice, right? So Lakeville is where Team Supreme will undoubtedly start, you know, getting the momentum in their favor. I mean, Lakeville's so hard to play, so dynamic, and you know, Team Supreme in that early stage of the season at least showed us they are a very good team on that map. So Penta would need, I would say, even to actually get around here on the board, get an attacking side on Ruinberg. Obviously in 754, you have an attack side, you have a defensive side, and 4 rounds in total. You play the defensive side twice, and then you move over to the attacking side. That's how it works here right now for Penta Sports.
Oh my, oh dear. Okay, some interesting tank choices here from Penta Sports. They've got the Oho, of course the Japanese heavy tank there, and 2 Onis. Now, they are very new to the game. Huge tanks, of course, big high-profile beasts. And now I know what they were meant about some cheese. I did not expect to see this at all.
I was talking to Killzo earlier today, yesterday actually. He was saying, yeah, this definitely is going to be featured. I mean, those 2 tier 6 tanks, everyone's had a go at them. I mean, they got a bit of armor. They're massive. They got a good amount of HP, but the thing is, their gun, yeah, its penetration is really low, like 150 millimeters with premium armor, but 700 damage. And against the lighter tanks, they will just blow them away. And that's, you know, not even the most important thing. That's kind of secondary. Their size is just so hard to get rid of because they will just provide like a sized piece of scenery.
This is bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. We've never seen this at all from Penta, but Multishow has found Raw, and he'd love to clear that LTTB off of the map with 1 shot left. He can get the finish. So Razny, though, picks up that first Oni there. Fluky hits the deck. No Fluky height for you guys today. And you can see Phoenix on that Bulldog is just harassing right now. Oh my God. That's exactly right. They're making a wall around that center tank right now. How can you reset when those big bodies are in the way and the base capture's down to 9 seconds? There's a reset, though. Comes in towards Killerpin. He's the centerpiece of this one right now. Multishow is going to be a little bit beleaguered right now as Chanish coming straight in towards him. This is ridiculous. What is going on, Penta? Trying to make it work. Resets are still coming in, though. That's the thing to be noting here. But this base capture keeps ticking down. I don't know if this will work.
It really just depends. I think Team Supreme will eventually have to go in. The thing is, the cap points are on Hacky. And yeah, they're getting the resets against the bigger tanks, but Hacky has got everything on him right now. And as long as they stay alive, you know, Team Supreme will have to go in.
This is unbelievable. 4 seconds left. They have to get the reset. Raging Potato gets taken down, but that's more protected for Hacky. 3 seconds left on the clock. Will this be enough? They have to hit Hacky. Can they do it? I think Hacky's done it. There's no reset possible. No, there it is. It comes in right at the last second, but Hacky's still hidden behind Raven HR. Penta Sports have broken the game, and they will get an attacking rail win on Ruinberg. We were told there'd be some cheese, but this is just something else.
So Rasny's just clapping Penta Sports there in background. He's like, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. That's the thing, you know, these tanks are so big.
Look at this!
Hacky's like, yes, I actually made some of my cheese work. I mean, that's cheese. That's pure, beautifully aged cheddar cheese there from you, from Penta Sports. Fantastic work from them. And, you know, I think, again,
he's shaking. Look at him.
Someone I have to really point out there is Multishow. He was dancing around the buildings there in the eastern side, keeping 2 tanks, an IS-3 and a 5100, just out of the game. And, you know, at the end of the day, he had to kill Multishow before they could move on. So he was really an important factor there. But amazing round there from Penta, using those massive tanks, you know, the size of a mouse, just to make it impossible for Team Supreme to cap.
Oliver, what are we seeing here? This is unprecedented and absolutely ridiculous.
The thing is, you can't even shoot Hacky there. The only way you could actually do that would be to use HE with a large caliber shell, like 122 millimeter from the IS-3, and shoot exactly like half a foot away from the top of Hacky's turret there. So that's the only way they could get the resets. I mean, back in the day, in the Westfield days when we played tournaments in there, we used to get the resets up behind the buildings with using HE shells with like KV2s, big caliber guns. Otherwise, it just simply wasn't possible. And you can see Team Supreme trying to make it work. And Apao does it. Apao makes the shot. He gets the reset with there with 68 damage, but it was too little too late.
But Supreme have gotten on now. Now they know exactly what Penta are bringing here. We saw that little bit of damage coming out from the HE shell. Is that going to be enough, though?
Well, I think Penta Sports, they've done all they could have hoped for here on Ruinberg. I think this is exactly what they needed. 3 rounds in a row. They aren't tilting. They got that first round in the bag. And, yeah, okay, you know, Team Supreme, they've got Lakeville to kind of fall back on. But even 3-1 scoreline isn't great on Lakeville. Penta Sports would have played that plenty of times. Team Supreme have only played 10 rounds this whole season on Lakeville. So they got a lot of work to do.
Speaking of tilt, Supreme did not look pleased at all. Even Zarazny had his hands up in some kind of fake, sardonic clapping motion there. He knew that his team had been bested by the most strange, most outlandish strategy we have ever seen here at the WGL EU. The question is, it's a ticking time bomb. Can Supreme defuse this one before they find themselves at a loss? This could be 4-0 for Penta, but they've changed it. They're going for a different strat here. No more of the big chunky tanks. Whew, bringing it back to normality just a little bit here, Oliver.
I think for Penta Sports, right, they just need to play the standard game now. They've shown us their interesting tactics. They've shown us their special tactics, quote unquote. And now they can play just a solid piece of World of Tanks, which they might not win, but it doesn't even matter. They're 3-0 ahead. They've got Team Supreme where they want, and the pressure is on Team Supreme to start performing. They really need to step up. And so far, even when it's come to those like engagements, Penta Sports have been playing very well.
One has to wonder about the psychological impact of, for Team Supreme of having to deal with what Penta brought in that last round. But we'll have to see now as things do start to unfold. And Killer Pit and Hacker, you see on your screen, they're just nestling together here on the outer ring of the city. If Penta Sports want to play standard on Ruinberg to get the win off Team Supreme here would be quite incredible. It would definitely be remarkable, especially given Supreme's performance so far this season. Penta Sports have a sterling record on the defensive side of Ruinberg, but the attacking side is not easy for anyone at all. You can see the setup is fairly standard, of course, as we didn't know what to expect coming into this one here, but Penta definitely giving us a little bit more vanilla World of Tanks line out.
Yeah, this is just standard Ruinberg stuff we've seen the whole season long. Of course, Ruinberg, apart from Himmelsdorf by the slightest of margins, is the most played map. And Ron is going forwards, and the Dead Zone is doing some good damage, and he might just fall.
See, Ron is going to go down, but what's the commitment here for Penta Sports? They push the Dead Zone up here into a position where he can be shot. Ron and Hacky going head-to-head right here, but Ron does get eliminated. That's the first casualty here. So Penta are with the advantage a little bit here, but it's Ron. It's in the LTTP. Yes, he would have liked to stay alive, but the Dead Zone taking a fair bit of damage as a result. Applewow in a fairly aggressive position as well. And Penta Sports not making a heck of a lot of damage stick yet.
I would say Penta's still in a pretty good position because they have that zero line. They can control the cap very nicely and the area around the cap. And Nuclear receives a ton of damage from the I3 in the 30-90 in the middle.
That's a very good start for Penta if they want to start to win this round here. Good damage on towards the big body of Nuclear. Can see Raging Potato as well. Quite a long way up there for an IS3. Let's see what he can do. So Discontent, Discord, maybe be a distraction. And Applewow on your screen has moved in towards to try and take out Fluky. He may be getting a 2v1 here if he's not careful. Fluky will have the shot. Applewow must connect this. He should be able to fairly easily. He does have his buddy FC Dynamo waiting in the wings to get the finish. Fluky tries to head down, get a bit more angling on his hull. Does not work out, but here's the jump on towards Razny here. Raging Potato, Raven, HR going in towards him. Nuclear takes down Hakuda. That's the MT25 off the map. Raven took a lot of damage from Shanish there, and Raging Potato now is his target. Razny is trying to get the heck out of dodge, but he is completely cut off here. Penta still behind in terms of health. It's still a 5v5 affair, and Penta still have to push forward here. Nuclear is half health. That might be their next target, but Shanish still has 3 in the chamber.
They really need to rely on new multi-show in that 5100 just to try and stave off the Bulldog and any kind of light tanks that want to rotate there from Penta Sport, from Team Supreme even. But Nuclear could fall.
Well, Nuclear now down to a one-shot, but so is Raven HR. Raging Potato fortunate to avoid that last shot, and Shanish is now on reload. The 5100 is going to take another 35 seconds to have those shots ready, but are Penta aware of this? I'm not sure. New multi-show picks up Applewow, but now Killer Pit going head-to-head with FC Dynamo, and Raging Potato is essentially on his own right here, but you can see Shanish is being chased on the minimap by a 54 lightweight. He knows he's on reload. That information is so important right now. The Dead Zone may wrap on towards Nuclear here and try and pick him up, but there goes Killer Pit. Penta needs to get the finish right now on towards Nuclear. He must go down, and he does. Down to a 3v3 right now with 3 seconds left in this one. New multi-show still has 3 shots left, but Shanish will soon be reloaded. He will soon be ready to rejoin the battle, but this is precious seconds for Penta to head towards FC Dynamo to get him off the map. And New Multishow definitely waiting for his chance to poke around the corner and take his shot.
Ooh, New Multishow just flushed that shot a little bit, but Team Supreme have a lot of hit points to play with. Yes, it's a 3 versus 3 situation, but I much prefer to be in Team Supreme's area right now, and the Dead Zone might just fall.
And so the Dead Zone copying a lot of shots here coming out. I believe it was from Phoenix there. He will get the finish on towards the Dead Zone. FC Dynamo cleans up Raging Potato. Penta Sports have gone back to the standard, and it has not paid off.
No, Penta Sports just doing a good job in that central village, but they just started to lose, started to wane hit points as they went through, and you can see Team Supreme just played very good tanks, playing on every single kind of facet they possibly could utilize, and you know, Penta came close, very, very close to winning just a pure skill. The positional game, it just wasn't quite enough, and Team Supreme just started to edge ahead in those little engagements, and Penta Sports do end up, you know, going out of Ruinberg with a 3-1 scoreline. Let's not forget a very good scoreline for them indeed, but not quite a clean sweep.
No, and you know, we are not surprised to see Team Supreme pick up at least one round here. It could have been so much more though, and we head into our second map, and Penta have the advantage, 3-1 here. We have seen comebacks from here. Penta bringing out something cute, something a little bit cheesy for us, but will it be enough to win in this series?
It's going to be so interesting. I think Lakeville is one of those maps we just haven't seen a lot this season at all. We haven't seen really what Team Supreme has got on the kind of cards on Lakeville. We saw them against Ding, which is the only notable result where, you know, Ding has been described as one of the better Lakeville teams in the whole Wargaming League, not just in Europe. So there, it was just a very positional game. But you've also got to take into account that was at the beginning of the season, right? So the meta's kind of changed. Teams have moved on since then, and you know, they could have something totally different in the bag. But I think Penta, they played solid tanks. Not just the special tactics that won, but also you could see in that last round they came very close to just winning the player skill of the positional and the kind of timing game. So this is going to be super interesting. The last point I want to mention is the fact that Lakeville's also a tiebreaker map in the semi-finals, so you know, we will be potentially having a lot of Lakeville, 5 rounds of Lakeville ahead of us.
Well, now you've heard our take on things. It's time to pass over to our desk of analysts to put this one under the microscope. Take it away, Lauren.
What a outstanding way to kick this one off. I think we were louder in here than Ollie and Mitch were when we saw round 3 kick off. But let's not focus just on round 3. Of course, the game started out with Penta, if I'm not mistaken, on the defensive side, and they picked up the 2 rounds back-to-back. Now, talk to me about that first round, because I saw you with a little bit of a grin on your face there.
Yeah, the Penta definitely were the man with the plan here. They baited Supreme to... They picked tanks for a tactics that we call Russian bunker, where you play in a top quadrant of map, and they didn't do it. They just pushed the north red line, left only one guy to spot back. Supreme presumed where will they be, they went there, and they got completely annihilated. Like, we will see they lost 1 light tank as soon as he got spotted.
Yeah. The thing is, with the lineup that the Penta brings, you're usually not going down the 0 line like they are. And Supreme doesn't actually have the correct lineup. Normally you have like a tank that actually dies so that they can go hide behind it. But if you look here, you can see that Supreme is just driving into one big massive unit onto Haki. And there's 5 tanks behind him just supporting. Phoenix gets obliterated. Apowao here goes in to kill Haki, but absolutely gets destroyed after.
He doesn't expect what
no. Every single heavy is there, which is abnormal. Normally there's like 3. China takes a huge amount of damage, Apowao goes down. Dynamo does 0 damage in this battle, nothing. And I mean, Supreme's been struggling with this all season.
So let's kind of take that into perspective. So the first 2 rounds went towards Penta, but they were on the defending side, so it wasn't the biggest thing in the world. But then it happened. I don't think I need to describe what happened. It happened. And we're going to get you to take us through this one, because you said at the start of the show, there's a couple of things lined up. You're not going to tell us what, but there's a couple of things up their sleeve. And then all of us just looked at the screens going, what on earth are they doing? And this is it. Daki, round 3, they're on attack. Take us through this.
Especially for cheese and wine.
Yeah, they've been training this against us. They've been working on that for a while. And the concept is the Japanese tank, which you can see Killer Pit and Raging Potato playing, are really tall structured tanks, which means that you cannot actually see the 1390 behind it. So if you can't see it, you can't hit it. The only way that Supreme can reset is by HEing, like high explosive ammo towards Raven or Haki. But the problem with Supreme is that they reacted too slow. They only had 2 guys watching there, and they still needed to kill 3 guys off before they could already start resetting. And by that time, you already have 80 cap points under the 2 1390s. The only way is you get a lucky HE shot and then you push a tank outside. Like you physically push it with 6 guys to move it. But Supreme had no time. They didn't expect it. They were like, oh, Ron, what do we do? And Ron's like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think Supreme played too standard. They were not thinking out of the box.
I did call this,
and oh-ho-ho push, like they didn't expect it. Only way to win this would be to intercept them in city before they actually come to the cap.
Yeah, but like we said before, Supreme doesn't have those kind of training partners that are willing to do this kind of stuff or think of this kind of stuff. And they just play their game. They're like, what do we do against this lineup? They're like, just go standard, go standard.
Exactly. So we did see the final round going in their favour, at least. A far more standard played out round. Penta did bring it close, though. Nothing to be said too much about it. So the scoreline is still sitting at around 3-1. And you guys at home, You turncoats is all I'm going to say. All of you were in the favor of Supreme. It was looking pretty good. And then Melly, it's changed surprisingly.
It changed a little at least. I mean, Penta's vote is now up to 46%, which is huge compared to the team they're up on. And it's really funny to see, like, at first they were like, oh, Penta will completely go under in this tournament. They won't get a single round. And then when Penta actually does well, everyone is rooting for Penta, which is amazing. I mean,
I told you so.
Yes, exactly. We already said that from the beginning. Why did you even have?
Why did you doubt us?
They were just waiting with voting a bit, you know, like.
Oh, they're playing it smart, you know. But then again, Melly, if they don't get the votes in early, they don't get as much of a chance, right?
Exactly. I mean, currently it's 54% for Supreme and 46% for Penta. And let's see how it changed until we enter the second map of this match, because that's how much time you guys have left to get involved. So head over to facebook.com/WGLEU and get in your predictions. Vote for your favorite team by clicking on the regarding team logo and then predict the exact scoreline in the little text field below. And if you get it right, and if you're one of the 11 fastest, the first fastest, well, the fastest from all the 11
the fast, right?
Exactly. We'll get a Logitech bundle, a gaming bundle containing a gaming mouse and a mouse mat, which is pretty much one of these bad boys. So getting involved is, I think, a pretty good idea. And of course, the other 10, well, second fastest to 10th fastest, 11th fastest, whatever, you know what I mean. 11 people get rewards, and the faster you join our competition, the higher your chances are. And of course, the Logitech raffle still goes on, so head over to esl.gg/Logitech raffle and sign up. And you only have to sign up. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do memes or fan arts or cheerfuls. That's all you have to do on our Facebook page. So pay the visit and see where you can get involved and where you can win awesome prizes. And people, we're about to head in the second map, so get involved in our team vote.
Well, you've had the call to action, but guys, a quick prediction from you two. We've got Lakeville coming up. Scoreline.
Oh, I would say this will be 3-1 for Supreme this time.
You think Supreme's going to pull it back?
I think this is their joker map.
There we go. Daki?
I'm still going with my 5-3, so
You're sticking with it?
It will be a 2-2 map.
Well, I think we've heard the desk's predictions. You guys at home have the perfect chance to get involved. And guys, I think it's time to find out if Penta can truly do it. Let's see if they can really face off against Supreme. Mitch and Ollie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's a lot going through our heads right now. I'm sure you guys are also going through that one as well after those last few games we did see. But what we're asking each other, what we're speculating, is whether David can take down Goliath. You've heard the thoughts on the desk.
Yep.
We've seen these teams, you know, play some Lakeville this season. What's your take, I guess, on how this map will go?
I think Penta Esports has played a lot more official games on Lakeville, which does count for something. But I think still Mojo, he briefly touched on the most important point. This is the Joker map for Team Supreme. This is the one they haven't played, and they could show us something totally different.
Well, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to dive head first into our second map of this first match. It's Lakeville.
Lakeville, a big summertime map of mixed type. The map can be divided into 3 parts: the town, the canyon, and the road. The teams start the battle on the opposite sides of the town. One of the bases is located right near the defending team's spawn, the other one the bottom of the canyon. Attacks are usually executed through one of the flanks. However, the central pass is also very important. You can get great recon from there. Both heavy and light tanks are commonly brought to Lakeville.
It's time to jump in head first. Penta are up 3-1. But as you said, and as Still Mojo did, this is Supreme's Joker map.
Yeah, this is really the one where they could bring something we haven't seen before. And they are starting the defensive side. So this is a side which Team Supreme haven't lost this season. They haven't lost versus No Mercy. They haven't lost against Ding, and they haven't lost against Wu. So those are the 3 teams they played Lakeville against. So, I mean, let's see if Penta Sports has something, again, totally different. But the big difference, everyone knows who's played Lakeville and Ruinberg before, Lakeville is a completely different kind of map. Very more dynamic. You've got a lot more routes. You have 3 routes basically: the left side, the middle, and that right side, all kind of favoring different lineups. Of course, the right side, heavy tanks; middle, hull down tanks; left side, very fast, so they can traverse through that boggy ground. So you can see Penta Sports at the beginning are immediately going to that western side, but they get spotted very early on.
Supreme are yet to play a top 6 team on this map. This could go any which way, and now we can see Penta Esports moving up on towards this southern cap. And they've only sustained, well, they've sustained no damage right now, except for Fluky, who gets chunked right on down. That's the first salvo coming out. Surely Penta have accounted for that one now, because they are coming aggressive towards this little hill there, and Phoenix will be waiting for him now. Can they get those guns down and make the shots, or will they be caught here and bogged down, as you did say? And struggling to make the shots over at the moment. Shanish and Phoenix still essentially untouched. The dead zone is just trying to deal with this, and here come the shots in from Ron on that FB304. He's going to make it hard for Penta Esports to solidify their position here, and Shanish has 4 left in the chamber. He's ready to put them over towards Penta Esports here, but what's happening on the rest of the map might be important.
This is so important here for Penta Esports. Basically, because they got the overmatch here on the 2 tanks, they know they can just push in. So Team Supreme is trying to think, okay, we want to go from the right side to the left side. They have to drive through the middle, but Penta's ready and waiting with those heavy tanks.
Penetrating hit from the FB304 towards the dead zone, took about 400 damage off him, but Applewell off in the wings got taken down by the chunky force of Penta in towards the village. They have the health advantage, they have the tank advantage. This has worked out so well for them right now, but they have to finish. Their execution must be flawless to topple a team like Supreme, and right now they seem to just be taking their time. But the top of your screen, you can see Rage Potato and Killer Pit. The IS3s are on the move. They're getting involved in this one here as Raven HR does go down. Nuclear will find him here, and FC Dynamo has to back off that hill because he knows the bulk of Penta's force is coming towards him. Penta have to dot their I's. They have to cross their T's and make sure everything is executed perfectly. Ron gets another shot on towards Hacker. The FV304 is doing so much work, but is it enough?
Ron's definitely keeping the game. He's doing such great damage at the moment, taking down the low tanks from Penta Esports. You know, because the dead zone was loading there on the AMX 1390, he couldn't help. He couldn't take him down, but Killer Pit just has to be careful. But again, Ron just needs to start doing some work.
Penta Esports starting to flex their muscles now, just trying to push in. Of course, Supreme only have 3 sort of head-to-head combat tanks left because they have that artillery. Killer Pit soaked up a lot of damage here. He pushed outside on and took a big hit, and he's missed one as well. He's bounced off the top of Nuclear. Will it be enough? I don't know. New multi-show's coming forward. He's got 4 in the chamber. They've unleashed the beast, and he is going absolutely nuts. The red and the white flag flies over the top of Lakeville right now as the multi-show is dealing death. 1 more shot left for him, and he has done his job. Let's see if Penta can capitalize and finish this game.
This is so interesting right now. I mean, Team Supreme are playing very well. You got the T54 engagement in that southern side, AMX 1390 versus T54, but the dead zone is a one-shot, but so is FC Dynamo.
A new multi-show does go down. Raging Potato's looking for FC Dynamo now. He will be able to pick him off. Zarazny's still up here, but it's only Zarazny and Ron left. Ron has been spotted. Zarazny's trying to get back and defend him, to help him out, to do something, to shift his weight in a positive direction for Team Supreme. But Penta, they may have done this. They may have taken away this round from Team Supreme and left them on match point now. Ron just trying to get behind the rock. He's not going to be able to do anything. And Zarazny, the stand-in, the substitute player for Team Supreme, is left on his own, and it all falls apart around him. And he looks in dismay as his team drops yet another round. And Penta are 1 round from winning this first semi-final match.
1 round has just destroyed that win streak there on the defensive side on Lakeville. Fantastic work there from Penta. I mean, I'm almost speechless. 4-1 ahead against Team Supreme. This is the team. It says it in their name. They haven't lost a single match this season. They've come close against Virtus Pro and Tornado Rocks, winning the tiebreakers, but they haven't lost. And right now, they are 4-1 down against Penta Esports, a team that barely made it here. And you can see Team Supreme's faces have gone from smiling to a little bit seldom. And, you know, 4-1 is a scoreline that I would say is almost unrecoverable. Penta still has 3 rounds. They just need to win one of the next 3 rounds. If you take into account the tiebreaker, one of the next 4 rounds, and they will be securing themselves a place in that finals.
This body language from Supreme, not good. But here's the replay here. Now, this was a little bit wayward for Penta Esports. They pushed on here, but so much work was being done on the other side of the map.
Exactly. The biggest kill here for Penta Esports was onto Apoel. He went down for nothing. And if you lose a tank for nothing, it's just bad news. It's the worst thing that can possibly happen. I think definitely MVP here for Team Supreme was Ron, doing great work in a very interesting position. But it just simply wasn't enough. Because Apoel went down, these 3 heavy tanks from Penta, even though they didn't play particularly great, they could go forwards 2 versus 1 situation. And also Penta did a great job having that extra WZ-131 come in to take down the 2 tanks that were sitting in that kind of cubbyhole area. So they had that left side under control as well. So, I mean, all round, just Penta comes from every angle, and Team Supreme has no answer.
Oliver, There is a monkey on Ron's back. I can see it hanging there, drumming his fists on Ron, and Ron knows it as well. It's time for Team Supreme to face their demons. To overcome such a massive deficit would be a truly Herculean effort. But Team Supreme, well, they are a team that is capable of such a thing, but they must act now. They have to kick things into gear. I don't know if Applewow's little pew-pew tank is going to be enough right now. And they have to dig deep on this one. They still have 3 rounds left on Lakeville potentially, but they have to turn things around now. They have to win this next defensive round, and they have to start to stamp their dominance over this game. Otherwise, Penta, coming from just sneaking into 6th place in the last play day, they just qualified for the finals. They made their way through for the playoffs, should I say. They had to fight through their playoffs tooth and claw to beat Kasna Crew to get here. And now they're staring down possibly the biggest win in the history of this team. They're looking straight down the barrel at Team Supreme. Team Supreme limping, they're wounded, but they're not out of it yet. And it's time for us to see what they are made of. We're going to be ticking into this map very, very shortly. And again, it will be Team Supreme on the defensive side. It will be Penta to attack. And the blood is in the water. They can smell it. And they're going to go in for the kill. I would be having some serious flashbacks if I was Team Supreme. The flashbacks would go straight back to the Season 5 finals in Sofia, Bulgaria, where they played against School Bus and they just tanked out after being the 2nd C team going into that final. So, I mean, just absolutely annihilated. And the same is happening here against a team which they theoretically should easily just sweep aside. But this is the offline factor. This is, you know, Penta Sports having that experience, and Team Supreme as a whole haven't got any of that real synergy, which is definitely required in these high-pressure situations. But they're still not out of it yet. They have a lot of work to do, and Penta Sports don't. But they have the defensive side on Lakeville, which is definitely, at least statistically, slightly easier to play. But Phoenix straight away just gets absolutely wrecked by Clicker Pit. Clicker Pit is in the house. He's making these shots. I don't even know if Phoenix was spotted, but already he has inflicted such a great amount of damage towards Team Supreme, and Phoenix is the only man watching this northern push. The rest of Team Supreme have to adapt to this so quickly. If they do not respond, they're going to be in deep trouble. Now, Phoenix has not spotted any of Penta Sports right now. He doesn't know what is about to be thundering towards him. Of course, it is Penta Sports. Complete gear stick in forward. They're going straight down on the W key, and they're going to make this way onto his northern cap. Supreme have to respond, and they are. They're trickling across here from the east towards the west, but they've got to get there quickly now. Penta Sports have a setup. They've got here. That's a massive effort for attacking teams to even be in this position, but now they've got to start to nail those screws in. Killabit going to be raining death from above. Penta are set up and ready to run. Perfect, because Clickabit did great damage against Phoenix. Oh my god, Zarazani just takes down Phoenix. I mean, a guy that's come in as a substitute just absolutely destroys the shot caller there for Team Supreme. I mean, he was going to die, but it definitely saves Penta Sports a shell. And this is just crumbling here for Team Supreme. They're just losing every single angle. You can see Clickabit has perfect shells there onto basically every single tank, and this is going from bad to worse. This is it. This is it. Shadish goes down. Only 4 tanks left for Team Supreme. Only 3 IS-3s left for them. That's all they have to work with right now. Penta are essentially unscathed. Sure, they've lost a bit of paint, but that's about it. And now Nuclear's going to be the next target. The dead zone going towards him. Gets tracked up on the cross here. Penta just trying to keep everything together. I'm sure the shakes will be coming out. Hacking surely will be shaking. Multishow, no shots left. He's going to have to back away from Applewell. He knows he's done. But Killerpit picks up Nuclear. The hype is real, and he's brought it to land, ladies and gentlemen. Killerpit now with another fantastic shot. And Applewell is left but do nothing but chase a Multishow through the city. That doesn't account for anything right now, as FC Dynamo is going to have to deal with this push. He just has to sit there and accept his fate. Team Supreme, they have choked, they have lost it, and Penta Sports are going to be in the grand final. Unbelievable. I mean, truly incredible. No words. This is unbelievable. The elation, the excitement on their faces right now. We talked about the cheese coming out from Penta, but it was only 1 round. Every other round, those other 5 rounds were just good, solid tanks. And you can see right now, even Shanish goes straight across, is like, man, you got us there. You played some fantastic World of Tanks. And again, Team Supreme have bowed out before the grand final. 5-1 scoreline. I don't think any one of us would have expected that. I mean, again, the statistics and all the number crunching we did beforehand just goes to waste, because Team Supreme at 11 wins, 1 loss, and look where they are. They're bowing out in 4th place right now. So just not good at all. Penta Sports do the unbelievable, the impossible,
and managed to secure themselves at least second place in the finals. Truly fantastic work from them. And, you know, this just there has to be something cataclysmically wrong here for Team Supreme. They must have the wrong mindset, because it wasn't even close. You know, in that first Ruinberg round, Penta Esports won not just because of their tactics, but they also won because of the skill. And in that last Ruinberg round as well, it was exactly the same story, except Penta barely lost.
This, you know, it's funny. Yes, it's been an epic game, but you know what? The most surprising thing is that this wasn't even close.
Exactly.
5-1, and yeah, we could say 5-1 might seem on paper like it's a big lead, but these games, these matches were not close. Lakeville had Penta's name written all over it from start to finish. It was a bloodbath by their own doing. And I mean, and Zarazny getting that team kill there on towards finish is just the cherry on top there. And again, you know, Supreme have succumbed to this curse that has always affected them in their different teams, whether it has been in GGWP and even school bus to some degree. And they've let themselves down again. But the emotion coming out from Penta, this is real. They've just started to realize that there is a distinct possibility with their performance over the top team that they could be our Season 1 champions.
They could easily be our Season 1 champions. If they're on that kind of form and they've done that kind of research against Team Supreme, they're playing on that kind of level, they definitely will be, you know, real contenders. Of course, we got a next match, but, you know, I would say the next match is an untested team and a team that's, you know, failed miserably in the finals and in pretty much every single one they've played. So Penta Esports, they have the skills to pay the bills. They have the confidence in the offline finals. They had nothing to lose, which I think was probably the biggest factor here in that matchup. And, you know, we can't really do anything apart from congratulate them. They did exactly the same thing they did against Cancer Crew. They tilted Team Supreme from that very first round where they got crushed. And, you know, it just continued to go downhill from there.
Yeah, the pressure just continued to build and build until, of course, Supreme finally broke. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an absolutely epic first match of our Season 1 finals, but we do want to take this opportunity to pass you over to our analyst desk, and they're going to try to break things down. Lauren, take it away.
How are we meant to put logic to that sort of game? Team Supreme were flawless throughout their online season. I mean, they didn't drop a single game. And now they picked up one round. That is unbelievable. Penta just showing, you know, what they're made of. And we had a little discussion actually coming into this map. Ollie's stats are a little questionable there.
Oh, his stats online were fine, but he might have no to read his own handwriting, I would guess.
I think he had the teams like show up on a Saturday, like, okay, play some Lakeville, boys, because I didn't see those rounds, but apparently it worked out since they won on Lakeville out.
Exactly. Maybe Ollie just
Maybe
had
Ollie was
great
thinking,
insight.
like, in the future, you know? Like, he was already predicting they're going to play Lakeville, they're going to win, so to boost the statistics a little bit.
Well, thinking of predictions, something went terribly wrong, and there was very little logic to this. And it sadly came from one of my favourite players as well, Applewell. That first round on Lakeville, that was just a absolute mistake if I've ever seen one.
Absolute nonsense. No FC or a player should do that. This is so standard tactic that Penta played. They should predict that those heavies are in a city waiting to shoot anyone crossing.
Here is Apoa. Apoa was crossing now. If you can see on the K line, he's crossing now with another IS-3, so it might have been Ron's call. But
might have been his call, actually.
But that is like the worst decision you can make. I mean, I don't know if Ron was like stressing or something, but they had Phoenix spotting that the entire time. They knew they weren't there. If the heavies were there, Shanish and Phoenix would have been dead already or being cap pressure. So that was just a really, really either a horrible player call or a horrible FC call. It was just lost them the game.
They even had the RT prepared to rest the cap.
Because
like, why do this?
Yeah, they had a light. The lights were still fine. Dead Zone's on reload is a one-shot. Raven's almost dead. Fluky's almost dead. Haki's the only one alive, and their heavies could help them. It just doesn't make any sense what they did.
See, in my mind, as you said, it comes down to, was this a really bad call by Ron, or was it Applewell making
Maybe they were scared
choices?
of some new cheese after Ruinberg. I really don't know.
It will have to be a conversation we have with Applewell at some point, or Ron, to find out what the hell happened there, because it just doesn't normally happen with caliber of players like this, especially Applewell. You even said basics. This is something you
like
do not
basics,
do.
ABC. You should know this.
This is like, they've played Lakeville so much that at this point they should be able to predict these kind of things. It's not like Penta brought the most ingenious tactic on the world on this map. It's something that's been seen before, and they must have trained against as well. And they had all the info, they had all the positions, and still they made this huge mistake, which basically gave the game away.
And then, of course, there was round two. Now, it looked at that point to me, if you looked at Supreme afterwards, you know, it was devastation.
From start to finish, it was a horrible tactic. I'm just going to say it like it was. Penta has a full light lineup with a 5100 and an RT. They go into the city, they don't see a single light, and yet they put Phoenix in a position where he's isolated and just gets team kill, which is the funny part. They put him in a position where he's soloed out, they can't do anything, the heavies are in horrible positions, and they just get picked off one by one. Full tilt, full choke.
And I just didn't expect it from this team. Now, let's be honest here. Penta have been to a couple of events, but they're still relatively quite young in a way to it. Whereas you look at the Supreme lineup, you've had teams who've gone to finals. You've had teams who've gone to the grand finals. You know, these guys are veterans, whether you go towards the school bus side or the Denova side.
It reminds me of season 4, where they beat TCM, beat Kazna under a different name, and then almost beat Virtus. And last season, where they almost beat Kazna, who then went on to win it. So they've always been close, but not there. But now they're in the finals.
This is pure mind over muscle. Like, they just outplayed them, outthought them.
You know what's a fun fact? I know they got more stuff ready.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my!
I'm not going to say what or where, but they still have some stuff.
Taste of things to
I
come.
think we're all going to be wearing those lovely Penta pink hats by the end of this one. We'll have to break out one of your lovely fashioned items if they keep this sort of thing up. But that game is something you won't often see. So do make sure you go back and watch that one again and again, because you often see the underdogs doing well, but my God, not going that far. But let's take a look at the bracket just to see how things have updated, of course, and you guys at home can keep in touch with how it's going down. Now, we've had the first game of the day. Now, this is not what I expected. Penta picking up the 5-1 victory, of course, meaning they move through to the grand finals, but they need an opponent, and that's between Tornado Rocks and Virtus Pro. There's a lot to be said about this game. What jumps to your mind about this second game now?
Wow, this will be a huge rematch for both of them, and there is some bad blood there, because Varsing was part of the Virtus, and it struck them pretty hard when he left. Virtus improved their gameplay, and this will be really tight match, I think.
I think both of them are
Similar
scratching their
playstyles.
heads like, yeah, okay. What just
I
happened?
wonder how many of them actually prepared to see Penta in the finals
None.
as well. You'd obviously assume, okay, well, it's, you know...
Yeah, but
maybe
thinking
there's a
of
small
about
chance,
Penta
but-
is like step behind. This is the first opponent now.
Incredible start. Incredible start of things. And, well, I'm super excited for the second game. But before we get there, we have to just see how many of you guys at home are eating humble pie. Melly, unreal,
It's
right?
so crazy. I mean, the team that barely made it to the finals, like in the very, very last match, against a team that rushed through the finals with an almost clean slate. It's just crazy to see. People, that's where we're at. WGLU finals. Nice to have you guys around. And of course, you were right at the end. So it was 49% for Supreme and 51% for Penta, with, well, the votes starting out with 65% in Supreme's favor, but still a very little vote compared to that matchup and compared to the former matches we saw from both teams. And people, the next team vote will of course be up, so head over to facebook.com/WGLU and get involved. It's your time to win bonus codes and of course Logitech Gaming Gear next gaming bundle, maybe containing a mouse or headset, will be up soon. So check our Facebook page, like it of course, and please don't forget our ESL Logitech wait, the other way around. Logitech raffle on esl.gg/Logitech raffle. So that's what I was trying to say. Where you just simply have to sign up. You don't have to do anything. You just enter your email and hope for the best. Maybe you want to invite friends to get your chances a little higher, but we want nothing from you. We just want you to grab some of our awesome stuff, which is 3 Type 59s, 3 WGL AMX, and of course 700 times 1000 gold, and about 30 items of our Logitech gaming gear we have. So people, check it out, esl.gg/Logitech raffle, and see if you maybe grab something of that tiny prize pool.
Speaking of prize pools, of course, we need to find out who'll be going into the grand final up against Penta. Will it be Virtus Pro? Will it be Tornado Rocks? I have no idea, but if it's anything like the first game, I can assure you, you do not want to go anywhere. So guys, go maybe make a cup of tea real quick, get some biscuits, get yourself prepared. So we're going to go for a 15-minute break, and when we're back, the tanks will be rolling.